Imagine a bright, sunny day in April 1994. A long line of people stands quietly outside a school in South Africa. They are dressed in their best clothes. Some have walked for miles just to be here. For the first time in their lives, they are allowed to vote. An old woman leans on her cane. She is smiling through her tears. "I never thought I'd see this day," she whispers. Then a car pulls up and the crowd cheers. It's Nelson Mandela. He steps out slowly with a calm, proud face. Cameras click all around him. He walks into the voting station and marks his ballot. It's the first time he has ever voted. A man who was once locked in prison is now choosing the leaders of his country. When he walks out, the people cheer again, louder than before. Some sing, some cry. It feels like a new world has just begun. Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in a small village in South Africa called Mvezo. His father was a chief in their village. Nelson's real name was Rolihlahla, which means troublemaker in his language. A teacher gave him the name Nelson on his first day of school. At that time in South Africa, it was common for black children to be given English names in school. Nelson grew up in the countryside. He liked to play with other boys, run through the hills, and swim in the rivers. When he was 9 years old, his father died. Nelson was then sent to live with a rich family in another village. This family took care of him and helped him go to good schools. Nelson was the first in his family to go to high school. He studied hard and learned about law and politics. He went to college but got in trouble for joining a student protest. He left that college and later finished his law degree in Johannesburg, the biggest city in South Africa. There he saw how unfair life was for black people. They had fewer rights than white people. They were forced to live in poor areas and could not vote in national elections. At that time, South Africa had a system called apartheid. Under apartheid, people were separated by their race. Black and white people could not go to the same schools, eat at the same restaurants, or live in the same neighborhoods. Nelson Mandela believed this was wrong. Nelson joined a group called the African National Congress, or ANC. This group worked to fight apartheid and make life more fair. Nelson gave speeches, led protests, and helped organize marches. He wanted all people in South Africa to be treated equally. At first, Nelson and the ANC tried to fight apartheid peacefully, but when the government hurt protesters and banned the ANC, some members began to fight back in other ways. Nelson helped plan acts to damage government buildings, but they were careful not to hurt people. He believed they had to take strong actions to be heard. In 1962, Nelson was arrested. He was sent to jail for a short time. Later, the police found secret papers that showed he was helping lead the fight against apartheid. In 1964, Nelson was sent to prison again. This time, it was for life. He was sent to a prison on an island called Robben Island. He stayed there for many years. Life in prison was hard. Nelson had to do hard labor every day. The guards were mean. He could only have a few letters and visitors each year. But he didn't give up. He kept studying. He helped other prisoners stay strong. He believed that someday things would change. Nelson spent 18 years on Robben Island. Then he was moved to 2 other prisons. Altogether, he was in prison for 27 years. While he was in jail, more and more people around the world began to support him. They said, "Free Nelson Mandela." They said apartheid must end. Countries around the world stopped trading with South Africa. They wanted the South African government to make changes. Finally, in 1990, the South African president let Nelson go free. Nelson was 71 years old. People all over the country cheered. Nelson walked out of prison with his head held high. He forgave the people who had locked him up. He said he wanted peace and not revenge. After he was freed, Nelson helped lead talks with the government. These talks helped end apartheid. In 1994, South Africa held its first election where everyone could vote, no matter their race. Millions of people voted. Nelson Mandela was chosen to be the president. He was the first black president of South Africa. As president, Nelson worked to bring people together. He asked white and black South Africans to forgive each other. He started a group called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. This group helped people talk about the bad things that happened during apartheid. It helped the country begin to heal. Nelson only served one term as president. After 5 years, he stepped down. He believed other people should have the chance to lead too. He spent the rest of his life helping people, especially children and people with AIDS. He gave speeches and raised money for schools and health care. Nelson Mandela died on December 5, 2013. He was 95 years old. People around the world mourned his death. They remembered him as a brave man who never gave up. He believed that all people deserve to be treated fairly. Even after 27 years in prison, he still chose peace over anger. He once said, "I have walked that long road to freedom, but I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom comes responsibilities." Here are 2 quotes from Nelson Mandela's life, each followed by a short explanation. Together they are timed to last about 1 minute and 15 seconds when read aloud. Nelson once said, "It always seems impossible until it is done." This quote reminds us that big challenges can feel too hard at first. Ending apartheid in South Africa seemed impossible to many people. The laws were strong, and those in power did not want to change. But Nelson Mandela believed that if people worked together and stayed hopeful, they could create a better future. This quote is not just about South Africa. It can be about anything hard in life, learning something new, fixing a problem, or making the world more fair. Mandela is telling us to keep going, even when something feels too big to solve. Once you do it, you see that it really was possible all along. He also said, "No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love." Mandela said this after he left prison and became a leader for peace. He wanted people to understand that hate is not something we are born with. It is something we learn. But just like we can learn to hate, we can also learn to care about each other. Mandela believed that love is stronger than hate. This quote teaches us that people can change and that kindness can be taught. Even after everything he had been through, Mandela still believed in the good in people. He wanted a world where everyone was treated with respect, no matter who they were. Nelson Mandela is remembered as one of the greatest leaders in history. He showed the world that forgiveness is stronger than hate. He had suffered through prison, harsh treatment, and years of struggle, but he never gave up. He always believed that things could change, and they did. His life showed the power of hope and forgiveness. He fought for justice, but he also fought for peace. He didn't want to punish those who had hurt him. He wanted to build a country where everyone, no matter the color of their skin, could live together. Nelson Mandela's courage, kindness, and wisdom helped bring freedom to millions of people. He taught the world that even in the darkest times, we can still choose to do what is right. He will always be remembered as a leader who changed the world not with anger, but with love.